Could you imagine rolling up to a bank, cashing $1 million check on a bicycle? Well, I got a story for you. In fact, I got a couple stories for you. I was out at the baseball fields the other day with a few of my kids that I train, and they were asking questions like, what's a typical day in pro ball? How much money did you get paid? And all kinds of questions like that. And we got into some stories, and I brought out the phone and recorded it because I thought you guys might like to hear it as well. So that's what this video is, and let's go over there. If you got any questions, hit me up in the comments down below. Here we go. So Frank the Tank, Osceola County Player of the Year, and I just finished up hitting. Jared's here getting ready to do some training, get some hitting and some pitching in. But we were talking about, Frank was asking about the minor leagues and the pay and stuff. And what were we talking about? Oh, what a pitcher only does, how often we practice, right? Yeah. Things like that. So I was just about to explain a typical day for a pitcher, or for anyone in the minor leagues. So I figured, let me just pull the camera out and we could all talk about it, make a YouTube video at the same time. So I was just saying, we would, if it's a 7 o'clock game, we would get there around 2 o'clock typically, and you'd get there, you get into the locker room, people are starting to come in, you'd slowly start to change. There would be a board, like a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and it would say what you were doing that day. So it'd have like 245 whatever, pitchers down on the field for conditioning, or PFPs, which is pitchers fielding practice. Then it would have the time for batting practice for the home teams and the away teams, because the away team would take batting practice as well. And so you'd have that whole schedule laid out, and you knew where you had to be. So typically we would go get there, change, get into our pre-game stuff, because we wouldn't get into our game uniform yet. Get into like shorts and your batting practice top, or sometimes we had to wear pants in the beginning with our batting practice top. And then we go out to the field. Pitchers, had to get certain amounts of running done for the day. Some days it would be more than others, so we'd get out there, do our exercising and stuff. We'd get our throwing in, whatever we had to do for that day, depending on whether we were pitching or not. For relievers, it was different, so we play light catch sometimes. But starters had their 5-day routine, obviously. And then we would have sometimes a quick team defense, pop fly priorities, things like that. Sometimes, but then more often than not, it was just a quick infield, outfield usually. So we do infield, outfield. We'd have batting practice, obviously. For a batting practice routine, we'd have different stations, probably like you guys did in high school. What'd you guys do in high school? Groups?
Yeah, we had groups.
Same thing.
So you practice.
Yeah. So it's basically a practice, right? So I guess we practice every day.
Before
if that's
game.
what you're asking.
Before a game.
Yeah, but it's not like very long. I mean, I guess it is. From 2 to 7 is what? 5 hours. I guess it is long.
Yeah.
But you're not doing something the whole time. But it's your job.
But it's
that's
like,
what you're getting paid.
You're actually getting paid.
Not a lot. We were talking earlier about
still something.
What the pay was in the minor leagues. I think the first year I was there, I was getting $900 a month. But they took out the hotel. They took out the clubhouse dues. Plus you had to tip the clubby. So we ended up with, I want to say like just over $200 every other week. So it was like I think it was like $140 every week that we had to manage for food and stuff. That was the first year. Then it went up to like $1,100, $1,300, $3,200. I think that or $2,300, then $3,200. I think the highest I ever got in the minor leagues was $3,200 a month. And I thought I was balling at the time. High A was the best situation because, like I was saying before, we got to stay with host families, so we didn't have to pay rent. So that was huge, because otherwise we were paying rent. In low A, I was paying, what did I say I was paying? $160 plus utilities. We have 4 guys in an apartment. So that's $200 right there, minus your clubhouse dues. You're looking at probably taking home, what was that, probably $1,300 at a time, minus 2, 11, you're probably looking at like maybe $400 every other week. So just over $200 a week that you had to manage to eat. Enough for a bike. Oh, so I was telling a story. I can't tell the whole story, story to Frank about when we got drafted. I was drafted in the 8th round, so I got $25,000. I got a check in my hand for $25,000, and then all the guys above me, above the 8th round, you know, there was guys below me too, but there was a bunch of guys above me. We had a 7th round, 6th rounder on that team, a 5th rounder, 4th rounder, 3rd rounder. I don't know if we had a 2nd rounder. Supplemental 1st rounder, and then a 1st rounder, all on that team. So the 1st rounder got like over $1 million check. Supplemental 1st rounder got like a $900,000 signing bonus. Then in between that, it went down all the way down to me in the 8th round, $25,000, and it got incrementally lower as you went each round. But none of us had a car, so when we first got there, we went to Walmart and bought bicycles, cheap bicycles, little BMX bicycles, to get around town. And then so we all roll up on these little bicycles with pedals to the bank with these huge checks, and we go in to cash them, and you know, they're looking at us like we're some little bicycle gang or something. And we walk in, and you know, like I said, the one guy, the supplemental 1st rounder, had a check for almost $1 million, $900,000, and he goes up to the bank teller, and you know, they're laughing because we rolled up on our bikes, and he hands her a $900,000 check and gets it cashed right there in the bank. And I'll never forget that. Right after that, you remember what I told you I did?
Yeah.
That was years ago. I told you. I can't remember. You remember that?
Which one?
About this story that I just told you.
That was a long time ago.
I went and got I bought a computer and an iPod. They didn't have iPads back then. They had iPod. Do they even have iPods anymore?
I don't think so.
It's just your phone, right?
Yeah.
So iPod, or Apple used to make a music box, which was just for music.
iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, little iPhones.
Yeah, but they were huge. The one that I got was bigger than my phone is right now. Like this, and it was thick. It was like the first ever iPod.
How much that cost?
It was like $500. It was so expensive, and it only held like 1,000 songs. Well, I mean, I guess that's a lot, but that's all it did. That's the only thing it did. It was this big, and you put your headphones in it. So I spent $500 on the first ever iPod, the Mac Daddy iPod, and then I bought a computer for like $1,500.
Still no ride.
Still no ride. Drove my bicycle up and down the streets for a year, and then
Didn't want to waste his $25.
I had to make that. I had to stretch it out, man. And you only get paid $150 a week.
Yeah, don't know what you're worried about with that $25,000 check.
I'm trying to eat.
Paid $150.
Yeah, true. But like I said, like I was telling you, the guys who got the big checks, the bonus babies, what we used to call them, they would hook us up every once in a while. They'd buy pizza, you know, they would buy drinks. They would take care of the guys who didn't have as much money. Sometimes it was typically known. They would buy spread every once in a while, which spread is just food for everybody. So they'd hook up a nice dinner after the games and stuff. So yeah, so if you were a bonus baby, you were supposed to take care of everybody else. And everybody that I played with who was a bonus baby was pretty cool. So that's my story. That's what we did for a typical day. Did that answer your question?
Then ask my question, what the guy did with the $1 million check.
What did he do with it?
With the
After he cashed it?
the
He
teller.
bought everybody else food.
Yes, he made his deposit. Let's just say. But
You can cut it. You can cut it. Tell him what the teller
that's as
story.
far as we're getting on the YouTube story.
Well, you can cut it on your phone. Tell him the story about the teller.
Oh, okay. Cut.
Chick-fil-A.
So you're there from 2, the game starts at 7.
2 to 7. Yeah, 7:05, which I don't know why they do. Or it was like 7:05 or 7:07. I don't know why they made it like that. I think maybe for the national anthem.
Did you guys get food?
Yes, good question. So we had a spread. So that was part of the dues that we had to pay for the clubhouse manager. It goes up every level, but I think it was like between $4 a day at the low end and $13 a day in AAA. I think was what we were paying in AAA, and like $4 in short season per day. But that covered food before the game. So that would cover food before the game, the spread, which was obviously for $4 we were getting peanut butter and jelly and carrots and stuff like that, you know, little stuff. But then when you get up there, like I remember in AAA, we had a much better spread. We're paying $13 a day. You're making more money, but also the spread is better. I remember we had a soda machine, like a fountain machine that you could just go and
get your own soda fountain from the fountain. So
I'll be a clubhouse manager.
yeah, so and then you had to tip the clubhouse manager on top of that. So every 2 weeks you paid him the dues or whatever, and then you had to tip him on top of that. And then obviously if you take care of him, whatever, he's going to take care of you better. I always made sure to take care of the clubhouse managers. Because I wanted to get my jersey number that I wanted for the next year, and
What number was that?
18. I always wore number 18. And it's always good to be on their good side because they control a lot of what you're doing. So yeah, so you get a spread before the game from the clubhouse manager, and then after the game, either a bonus baby will pick up that post game spread, or if a big leaguer is rehabbing, they'll pick up a post game spread, which is usually really nice. Like they come down and they'll get like a real nice restaurant catered, and everyone's eating like steaks and stuff like that. Like I remember Brian Giles came down one time when I was with the Padres, and he hooked it up. He was there for like a week, and that whole week we were eating so good. He was buying everything, all kinds of stuff. So that was cool. And then you'll have like sponsors every once in a while donate a dinner, or like a family donate dinners, like lasagnas and stuff like that, and they'll just bring in a platter and feed everybody.
Your agent never do anything for you?
Yeah, so your agent, what your agent does is obviously negotiate deals for you, but they also send you free gear. That's a big thing. They take a percentage of your signing bonus. I think it's 3 to 5% is the going rate. I think my guy was 3%, maybe it was 5%. I don't even remember. So they take a percentage of your signing bonus, but then they, like anytime I needed a glove or undershirts or sliders or any kind of gear, spikes, stuff like that, I just tell him and he'd ship it to me. So that's good. That's a good part for having an agent on the field. But obviously off the field, he's trying to work deals and stuff like that. If you're going to be traded, he helps with that. He obviously helps when it comes to negotiations in your contract, and then making deals with companies outside of that. So for example, I remember some guys in the minor leagues would like sign with Reebok or Nike or whatever, and they would get certain deals, certain pay, or merchandise in return for that deal. But the agent usually hooked that up. Gonna rain?
Oh, Chick-fil-A.
Frank, what do you got? So what do you got for the people? How do you become Osceola? How do you become high school player of the year?
You hit base hits.
Base hits? What was your batting average this year?
450.
450. Now the big question is, did you do that with or without sleeves on?
Both.
How many home runs did you hit?
Only 2.
2 home runs.
Yeah.
Junior year, 2 home runs. Senior year, how many are you gonna hit?
Another year.
How many is that?
Over 4.
4 total. 4 total. So you got to hit 2 this year to tie, or 3 to win.
I ain't tired.
And that's coming from a pitcher only. And I never wore sleeves. Always showed the guns.
Now you have good.
You don't know what I look like in high school. Jared, you ready to go?
Yeah.
What are we gonna work on today?
Pitching, hitting.
All right. And we're gonna try to beat this rain. See you, Frank.
I want Chick-fil-A.
All right.